Our tale commences with a culmination of everything we witness: a battlefield where everyone lies lifeless. A hand lies on the ground, almost devoid of life, clutching a shattered crimson gemstone. Fire and ashes envelop a youthful warrior, attired in black, adorned with a yellow headband and a crimson scarf. His countenance is besmirched with blood, his brows soaked in it, and his mouth oozing the same in his dying moments. This warrior recollects how he once held the mantle of humanity's mightiest defender. Yet as he nears the end out, creeps in questioning whether he still merits that title. His thoughts return to the 7 fiend demons he almost vanquished, only to be blindsided by the revelation of an 8th, the most formidable of all, born from the steel of ancient kings. Defeat was his bitter outcome, summoning every ounce of strength. He attempts to rise, but the haunting memory of the 18 demon laying waste to humanity torments him. In that critical moment, a crimson-winged demon descends nearby. As he contemplates the blame he bears for this calamity, born of his failure to uphold his role as humanity's mightiest warrior, his eyes begin to close for the final time. The demon's hand reaches out towards him before darkness envelops his life, yet, in that last instant, he glimpses a glimmer of light, gradually intensifying before an explosion of brilliance consumes his vision. Our hero awakens amidst the throne of young men, all chanting the word salute. His eyes widen as he comprehends he now resides in an entirely unfamiliar place. He starts to question whether he dwells within a dream after his demise. Gazing around, he discerns the surroundings are startlingly authentic. He reaches out and is startled by the unfamiliarity of his rugged visage and robust physique. Who is he and where is he? These questions consume him. The answer is uncomplicated. He finds himself in Heliosity, a colossal metropolis surrounded by a desolate wasteland situated within some kind of training facility. He stands amidst other newly recruited cadets, aspiring to become warriors. Before them stands a man with blonde hair and a blonde beard, who addresses them all, explaining the profound significance of participating in the warrior examination. The term warrior embodies 2 essential concepts: safeguarding and inspiration. The man before us with his gilded eyes appears to emanate sagacity, bearing the marks of numerous battles. Indeed, he is Jay Yao Tang, the former leader of Helios City's 3rd Squadron. He proceeds to recount events from 6 decades past, when the 6 colossal relics of the ancient king ushered in an apocalyptic era on humanity's doorstep. He narrates the legend of how thousands of demons inundated their realm mercilessly, exterminating nearly every human they encountered. Nevertheless, even on the brink of annihilation, humanity endured the demons' ruthlessness, became a harsh lesson, teaching humans to adapt to survive. To combat the demonic threat, they devised a groundbreaking technology known as grafting equipment. Crafted by harvesting internal cores from demons, this technology bestowed upon humans strength commensurate with that of their adversaries. The pinnacle of humanity's warriors. Aang assumed the mantle of the world's supreme leader, commanding a global army of warriors. Aang and his warriors confronted the most formidable demonic onslaught the world had ever witnessed, a seemingly endless battle that stretched over weeks. Alas, as history recalls, humans were defeated and darkness shrouded humanity. Yet amidst the defeat, humanity managed to repel the demons sufficiently to secure 6 decades of respite and advancement. Upon hearing this, our protagonist grasps that it has been 6 decades since its demise, realizing he has been reborn into the future. The squadron leader continues recounting the harrowing losses humanity endured, including that of their mightiest warrior, Aim. He recounts how they fell to the sudden Fin demons. This war illuminated humanity's unwavering determination, even in the bleakest hours, however. Our protagonist's inner turmoil intensifies upon hearing this, pondering how the true might lay, not in the 7 Fin demons, but in an unknown 8th and demon. He questions why humanity remains unaware of the full extent of their adversary's capabilities. Meanwhile, the squadron leader proceeds with his discourse about the war's transformative impact on humanity and concludes by querying the recruits if they have yet grasped the essence of being a warrior. The warriors express their approval through shouts, but they notice our protagonist's silence and contemplation. The squadron leader approaches our protagonist, looming over him with his imposing physique. He chides him for lacking a genuine warrior's understanding and inquires about his name. Our protagonist hesitates for a moment, debating whether to reveal his true identity as the incarnation of the history's strongest warrior. He questions whether anyone would even believe he's AIM, given the feeble and slender body into which he is reincarnated. Before our protagonist can respond, the squadron leader's astonishment becomes apparent as he observes that our protagonist bears the same name as the legendary warrior displayed on his badge. He proceeds to insult him further, branding him a foolish youth devoid of a warrior spirit. He grabs our protagonist's shoulder and delivers a forceful punch to his face, sending him flying. It dawns on our protagonist that his new form is a substantial downgrade from his original body and capable of even a basic defense against such an attack. The squadron leader departs after informing Ain. Then he'll keep a watchful eye on him during the warrior examination, instructing all the examinees to converge at the examination grounds for the physical fitness assessment. One of Ain's comrades checks on him, and Aang expresses relief at still being alive. The young man introduces himself as Lan Snow. Meanwhile, a female stands at a distance, mocking Aim for his name and physical fragility. She approaches and continues to taunt him, asserting that sharing the name of the great hero Aang won't make him strong. This woman is Shitalu, another warrior aspiring to confront demons on the battlefield. Aang is perturbed by her behavior, perplexed by the connection between his name and her reaction. Lan Snow informs Aang that she's the most promising warrior among their group, known as Kitalu, the unsmiling Rakshasa. Additionally, she happens to be the firstborn child of Helios City's most renowned martial arts family. Aang begins to ponder why the name to-do triggers a sense of familiarity within him. While helping Aim back on his feet, they both notice a sudden flash from behind. It's a girl with pink hair, taking their picture, captioning it as a dazzling display of brotherhood. Aang inquires about her identity, while Lan Snow seems more interested in determining if she is the same person who had taken photographs earlier. She introduces herself as Makoto, interpreting Lance. No's assistance to Aang as a romantic gesture. It quickly becomes apparent that she might not be the sharpest individual in the group. The scene transitions to the fitness test venue, and Aang appears notably more self-assured. He believes that despite his current frail physique, he remains the ultimate warrior. He anticipates that the task will be a breeze, and that he will achieve exceptional scores. The first segment of the fitness test is a long-distance run assessing stamina and endurance as the race commences. Aim dashes forward, confident in his ability to run at remarkable speeds. However, he soon discovers that his body is in a far worse state than he had imagined when he becomes the slowest person ever to reach the finish line. The second stage of the fitness test focuses on explosive arm strength, but Aang ends up spraining his wrist. In the third stage, which evaluates jumping ability, he barely manages to leap a single meter. City Leo ridicules him, dumbing him an idiot. In the fitness test, he ended up with the poorest historical results, leaving him disheartened, however. Lan Snow is there to offer comfort, while Makoto is dismayed, because if Aim fails, she won't be able to capture more pictures of him alongside Lan Snow. One of the overseers converses with a squadron leader, inquiring about the possibility of removing a due to his dismal performance. The squadron leader, a man of strict discipline, despite lacking faith in Aang's abilities, opts to grant him a chance to partake in this second round of tests, understanding that this could likely be his final evaluation. The second round of testing commences, focusing on assessing each candidate's compatibility with the grafting equipment. Ain smiles, recognizing that the enhanced strength from the suits might be his saving grace. He had achieved the highest synchronization rate 6 decades ago. So despite his physically unfit condition, his determination suggests that he might synchronize well, relying on his willpower. He is visibly resolute, eager to display his true capabilities. As the warrior examinees are directed to enter the testing area, AIM feels a bit bewildered when he sees the updated appearance of the grafting equipment, now lighter and more comfortable compared to 6 decades prior. Meanwhile, on the stage, Sigilu undergoes the synchronization assessment with a grafting suit, earning a synchronization rating of 39. Everyone is astonished by this high score, admiring her martial arts lineage. And Beauty Ang, however, remains relatively unimpressed. Sigila disconnects the connection cord and departs the stage, leaving a dazzling impression on those in the room. Yet from her perspective, we glimpse her inner anxiety and the effort she puts into staying composed. In contrast, Ang is somewhat impressed by her performance, reflecting on how she achieved a 39 synchronization rate solely on the assessment. Lan Snow and Ang engage in a conversation about their impressions of Sigilu, both acknowledging the formidable power concealed within her slender frame. Lan Snow notices Ang's lack of nervousness regarding the second exam, and Ang explains that he's accustomed to such situations, surprising Lan Snow with his response. However, Ang remains silent as the tests continue. Rookies are observed enduring intense pain during their synchronization assessments with the grafting equipment. The demonic core exerts a significant toll on the body, resulting in a substantial initial burden to attain the required 10 synchronization rate for passing. Unfortunately, many rookies struggle to withstand this pain, with some even giving up. Nonetheless, both Lan Snow and the pink-haired girl Makoto manage to pass. Lan Snow achieves a 24 synchronization rate, while Makoto unexpectedly attains a 30 synchronization rate, taking everyone by surprise. Squadron leader Yao Tang expresses satisfaction with the discovery of promising rookies with genuine potential. While they may take pride in their impressive batch of rookies, there are still some weak links like Ain, according to squadron leader Yao Tang. As Ain steps onto the stage, he becomes aware of the collective gaze directed at him. Nevertheless, this does not deter him from his objective. He is prepared to reveal his true capabilities and confidently approaches the stage, placing his hand on the strength core, a brilliant red gemstone akin to a beacon of hope. The one he grasped during his previous live's dying moments appears to be the demonic core. It appears that the Mai cores can be classified into 6 categories. Red signifies strength. Yellow signifies defense. Green denotes healing, and blue represents agility. However, the rarer cores are purple, symbolizing imaginary power, and black signifying time and space. Both of these are exceptionally rare, especially the black core. Ang reminds himself that the most critical factor is willpower. As he inserts the core into his suit, he is prepared to demonstrate the strength of his willpower, which not only determines the body's capacity to endure the demonic core's pain, but also showcases the user's mastery of it. They connect the cord to AIM's core, and a massive bright red spark fills the room, extending all the way to the lounge. The selected rookies are astounded by the strong reaction of the demonic core and its user. The synchronization rate rapidly reaches 40% and continues to climb. Despite the pain, Ang is determined to display the true depth of his willpower. The rate rises to 60%, leaving the squadron leader utterly incredulous, questioning whether there might have been a malfunction in the equipment or the calculation process. The rate continues to soar from 70 to an astonishing 80%. AIM feels the power coursing through his body, but suddenly it abruptly shuts down, plunging him into a powerless abyss. The red core begins to crack and ultimately snaps, with the cord automatically detaching. AIM falls to the floor, realizing that this body cannot withstand his true power. The rate drops to 10%, precisely the synchronization rate required to pass the test. Those assessing him conclude that the red core must have malfunctioned, leading to the unusually high rate before its breakdown, prompting a collective sigh of relief. Aang barely passes, much to the amusement of everyone in the testing venue. Lan Snow rushes to his side to offer assistance, and Aang appears to be in a state of unconsciousness as he acknowledges his friend. Sigilly more relieved than anyone else is content that no one else in the examination facility shines as brightly as her. Aang is simply relieved to have passed, which was all he needed. Lan Snow accompanies him back to the lounge, where Makoto seizes every opportunity to snap photos of the two friends together. Later in the lounge, Aang reflects on what occurred. He had clearly possessed enough willpower to achieve an 80 rating, but something from the depths of his heart drained his power, a phenomenon that baffles him. AIM finds it perplexing that a demonic core, even of the lowest grade, should crack like that. The squadron leader enters the lounge and congratulates everyone for passing this second round of assessments. Now it's time for the final round, the practical tests, undoubtedly the most challenging of all, as the rookies will face a real demon for the first time in their lives. This prospect terrifies all of them, but Aang is particularly apprehensive. Aware of his impending demise, they all exit the room, however. The squadron leader spots something on the floor near Ain's previous location, a small fragment of a red core. This piques the squadron leader's curiosity further, as there's something about AIM's determination that genuinely intrigues Yao Tang. He now contemplates what Aang will reveal in the final test, aptly named Hunting in the Fog. Beyond the city walls, birds soar above Heliosity, protected from the demon-infested world beyond. Q possessed the confidence to venture beyond these secure walls, but warriors are expected to take that courageous leap. The compound door slowly rises, ushering in the radiant sun's rays. AIM contemplates how humanity has come to inhabit such isolated places, while his fellow rookies experience the outside air for the first time. He's given a new strength core for his grafting equipment, yet he remains convinced that the core wasn't the issue. He senses that something within his body rejected the power, possibly a transmigration side effect. However, he has no time to dwell on this. Now he must confront the upcoming test head-on, as Ain steps outside the compound door and into the real world away from the city's comfort. He experiences a sudden shiver. A ripple effect ensues as more demons become aware of him reaching a dark cave, where a shadowy demon questions how a demon could outrank him, and since is a dark presence within himself. It's as if some mechanism has detected his presence, serving as a radar, notifying the demon kind of his existence as he observes the demons and hears them. He's interrupted by Sigilou, annoyed by AIM blocking her path. Lan Snow follows closely, expressing concern for Aang's well-being. He wants to respond, but is instructed by one of the instructors to gather with the others. These four are assigned to the same team, prompting Makoto to inquire if Aang had intended to form a team with them all along. He seeks to clarify his intentions, but Sigilou interjects, warning him not to drag the team down. She then has an internal dialogue, worrying that no one would want to team up with her. Snow encourages Aang and emphasizes the importance of their training, while Makoto captures a selfie of their newfound team as they depart. In the distance, one of the ancient king's relics, the dispelling steel, a black steel with a solid stone texture, contains a unique substance used to dispel the fog. The instructor informs the squads that they must partake in the final assessment in groups of 4 hunting in the fog. The teens are equipped with hunting daggers to dispatch demons. They also received a compact device crafted from the dispelling steel to clear the fog. The task is relatively straightforward. The teams must reach designated locations marked by flashing lights and insert the device into these locations to dispel the fog. Once that's accomplished, they must hunt down as many thinless demons as possible. The assessment considers both individual strength and teamwork. This final trial is the most daunting, demanding, not just physical prowess and combat skills, but also the mental resilience to overcome impending challenges. Learning effective teamwork is crucial for their survival and achieving high grades. Properly surveying the area and engaging demons that emerge first will earn them the warrior title. The examination proceeds energetically, while atop the wall, a woman with an alluring physique and attractive face observes. Then she mentions the rookie group's potential, but singles out Sigilou due to her family name. This woman is 2nd Squadron Leader Data Jill. She seeks opinions from the two men beside her, and 1st Squadron Leader Joel also expresses interest in Sigilou's growth. 3rd Squadron Leader Yao Tang remains intrigued by Aang discussing him with his comrades and suggesting that Aang is worth keeping an eye on. Yao Tang had sent the red Quran used during the synchronization exam for testing, revealing that there was nothing wrong with the core. He's left wondering about what transpired, but gets interrupted by Jill, who playfully calls him an amusing name, albeit annoying. Data inquires about the demon assessment's accuracy, prioritizing the rookie's safety. Yatang assures her that they have thoroughly scoured the vicinity and found only no Fin demons near Helios City. Joel emphasizes the importance of protecting the rookies at any cost if a one-Fin demon suddenly appears, as they represent humanity's future. Now it's time for our heroes group to tackle the practical exam. Aang, Snow, Makoto, and Sigili seem prepared. Aang holds the dispelling device, but Sigili seizes it and takes off, instructing the others to follow her. Aang is somewhat annoyed by her attention-seeking behavior, but complies, urging the rest to follow her lead. They sprint through the fog. Anticipating potential dangers, they spot the flashing light, their destination, and spread with determination. Sigilou, known for showing off, leaps high into the air and executes a backflip upon nearing their destination, gracefully landing on her feet and planting the device. She inserts the dispelling device into the target, which pleases Data. Data notes that Sitalu, despite having a green recovery core, possesses considerable stamina. Angian instructs Snow to utilize his defense core and break through the demon's attacks. Snow leaps into the air this time and lands near the demons, creating a shockwave that propels them into the air and envelopes the battlefield with his shield bubble. Squadron Leader Yao Tang is impressed by Snow's attic use of his core powers at this early stage. Engage Worthy flourishes his dagger and instructs Lu and Sadu to each eliminate a demon, although the girls are already prepared and require no guidance. All three rushed separate demons and commence. Their battles, the ensuing skirmishes, unfold in 3 segments. In the first round, we witnessed Makoto facing off against a finalist demon. The demon proves to be swift, but Makoto definitely dodges its attacks using her agility core. She manages to get on top of the demon and delivers a powerful kick that sends it plummeting towards the ground, where Snow is ready to deliver a finishing blow. The demon is propelled several meters back upon impact, resulting in its demise. Squadron Leader Joel on the wall admires their teamwork and acknowledges how the agility core has greatly enhanced the girls' movements. However, it becomes evident that agility isn't the only aspect that caught his attention, prompting Yao Tang to reprimand him for his inappropriate behavior. The second battle involves Scylla taking on a larger demon unfazed. She simply jumps onto the demon and stabs it with her dagger, causing it to fill with explosive energy. The demon's body develops bulging sacs, and it screams in agony. City of Dismounts lands on her feet and casually says, "Boom!" before the green explosive energy inside the demon detonates, obliterating the monster. The third battle features Aang facing a fighter demon. Unlike the others, Aang has a strategy in mind, targeting the demon's 3 vital points. He aims to strike the neck, chest, and abdomen, inflicting severe injuries and causing the demon to bleed out. However, he struggles to finish off the demon due to the limitations of his frail human body. He decides to use this battle as a test of his limits, pushing himself to the brink. He rushes towards the demon with determination, hoping to push his body to the absolute limit. The demon responds by throwing a furious punch at Ain's head. Aang is caught off guard but swiftly evades the right hook, countering by attempting to stab the demon's ribs with his knife. However, the demon anticipates Aim's strategy, resulting in only a minor cut to its rib. Aang realizes his delayed response and moves quickly to dodge the demon's attempted kick. With the agility of a warrior, he switches the knife to his other hand, maintaining a piercing, Gaze into the demon's soul, he stabs once more, this time targeting the demon's gun and successfully inflicting a wound. However, his hand-eye coordination isn't strong enough for a decisive blow, though it proves fatal. In a last-ditch effort, the demon hurls its entire body toward aim, but it only sustains further cuts. Aang uses his body weight to trip the demon, causing it to fall face first on the ground. Aim positions himself to slash at the demon's mouth, causing it to collapse. Aang lands on his feet as he shows off his skill, twirling his knife-land Snow Makoto, and siegily observe him with land snow, noticing that Aang appears to be toying with the demon. Meanwhile, Makoto is busy taking pictures, and Seduli is feeling insecure about Ain's abilities. Aang's adept maneuvers catch the attention of the squadron leaders, especially Dota Gel, who inquires about him from her comrades, acknowledging his impressive skills. The first squadron leader, Joel, notices that Aang moves like a seasoned veteran with prior experience in this field. Squadron leader Jay Yao Tang, on the other hand, seems uncertain about what to make of the young, slender boy. The injured monster remains on all fours, bleeding, as Ayin continues to pierce and stab its entire body. Aang, bent over and catching his breath, comes to the realization that his new form is physically weaker, unable to utilize his previous skills, and prone to rapid exhaustion. He decides it's time to finish off the demon. A pink fawn-shaped root emerges from the ground and impales the demon's chest. More roots flow out, encircling Aang, and the others, a powerful entity, seems to be present among them. Two hands burst through the demon's back, tearing it apart, and another creature emerges from its intros. Aang is overcome with terror and confusion. This creature resembles an animorph lacking eyes and sporting a bony face with large teeth. It pulls its head out of the deceased demon and emits a loud roar. High above the walls, the squadron leaders notice the disturbance as signals are communicated to them through colorful smoke. The smoke reaches 3 of them on the wall, with Jay Yao Tang being the most affected. Fear crosses his face as he realizes that this is no ordinary demon. It is something far more horrifying, a one-fin demon. Meanwhile, other students are frantically fleeing from the roots, screaming for their lives and begging for rescue. Joel and Dota Gel leap from the wall to confront the threat themselves. Amidst the chaos, strong gusts of wind, smoke, and dust envelop the area as Dota Gel and Joel rush at top speed to assist the rookie students. They encourage the fleeing rookies to head toward Jay Yatang. For safety, they will be guided to the city by an escort, but a one-fin demon finally sets foot on the ground, realizing that it's encircled by humans. To their surprise, the demon claims to have detected the scent of a demon among them. Aang is puzzled by this, wondering how a human could emit a demon-like odor. The demon scrutinizes them all, fixating on each individual, trying to identify the one it seeks. It proceeds slowly, giving off an intimidating aura. City Lu begins to fear that this might indeed be a one-thin demon, as it looks nothing like the others. She envisions herself being overwhelmed by the roots and succumbing to the pressure. The demon gradually approaches Ayin, who doubts that his current body can withstand this monstrous adversary. Nervous and sweating, Ayin starts to empathize with how regular warriors must feel when confronting a one-fin demon. The demon extends its hand toward Ayin. Generating 4 glowing orbs from its fingers, it announces its intention to affect them all. A white laser beam emerges from its hand and connects with their foreheads, rendering them almost hypnotized and completely immobilized. They collapse onto the ground, unconscious. The demon is poised to claim them. However, it notices a breach in the root structure and is momentarily surprised. Bursting through the gap in the roots are our heroes Joel and Dada. Joel urgently warns the demon not to touch the examinees, but the demon responds by unleashing even more roots to obstruct them. It bids farewell, and the ground beneath it begins to sink, creating a massive hole. The demon, along with the examinees, descends into the pit. Dada and Joel are left stunned, realizing that 4 examinees have been taken with it. The pit is expansive and deep, surrounded by towering tree trunks. They notice cracks beside the hole, forming a trail seemingly leading to the one-fin demon's whereabouts. Joel decides that they must pursue it, even though they find themselves in a forest enveloped by cliffs and massive trees that obscure the light. Amidst the dimly lit forest, Joel and Data gaze at the trail, which could potentially guide them to the one thin demon. Data is bewildered. Data is bewildered considering Jay Yaotang's thorough checks and examinations of the arena. The appearance of a one-fin demon here seems inconceivable, given how cautious and meticulous Yaotang typically is. They are uncertain of the proper protocol as such. An occurrence has never transpired before. Suddenly, Joel hears his name being called from above, and we see Squadron Leader Jay Yaotang entering the scene. He lands on the ground and promptly inquires about the abducted youths. He admonishes the duo for stopping and insists they continue the pursuit. Joel urges caution, explaining that the tracks have halted here. Data suggests that the one-fin demon probably began to dig underground upon reaching this point, emphasizing that the area ahead is uncharted territory, making it unwise to rush in. Is visibly shaken and burdened by guilt, blaming himself for the situation. Someone dear to him was abducted by demons, and he has never been able to let go of that experience. Consumed by rage, he slams his fist into the ground, shattering it into numerous pieces. He takes the blame upon himself, admitting that it was his error not to conduct a thorough check. Joel and Dad observe their comrade as he assumes responsibility for circumstances beyond his control. Joel suggests returning to the city to alleviate some of the panic, while Dada proposes that they cannot all leave the city and should dispatch an exploration team to investigate the surrounding areas for clues and other one-fin demons. Data attempts to console her comrade, placing her hand on his shoulder and reminding him that none of them desired this situation, emphasizing the importance of maintaining their composure. He pushes her hand away and instructs both of them to return first so he can continue searching. Joel initially irritated his silence by Dada, who advises Yaotang to return before sunset. He glances back at her and expresses his understanding before venturing into the forest, resuming his pursuit. Data confides in Joel that Yaotang wasn't going to heed their advice anyway. Joel acknowledges this, aware that Yaotang hasn't been the same since his younger brother was abducted by a demon in the past. Data notes that if Yaotang's younger brother was still alive, he would be the same age as the examinees, recognizing that the children remind him of his law sibling. Deep underground within a cavern-like structure, Aang regains consciousness. He opens his eyes, finding himself alongside his comrades, all bound to pillars. He senses his breathing behind him, and the creature with an open mouth queries if he's awake, and quickly looks back and realizes that he can understand the words of the one-fin demon. The demon is intrigued by Aang, noting that he woke up much faster than the others, marking him as different. Perplexed and has no idea what to make of this situation, suddenly the demon's hand grasps Aang's face, and the wooden pole to which he's tethered snaps as the demon clutches his throat. It questions why Aang smells like a demon, wondering why a human exudes a stronger scent than a one-fin demon. Bleeding from his face and bewildered Aang inquires what the demon is trying to convey. Abruptly, the crystal within Aang's suit surges with a burst of red energy, propelling the demon backward. Aang lands on the ground, knife in hand, and charges toward the demon, poised to deliver a fatal blow to its suffering. In retaliation, the demon strikes with its sharp claws, but Aang evades the attack, executing a backflip to safety. Now, locked in combat with a demon aim, contemplates how easily he could have vanquished it if he were in his original body, driven by the responsibility of rescuing his friends. He observes that this is a Crimson Court demon, possessing a nimble physique with flexible joints that allow it to swiftly react to attacks and retaliate with equal speed. However, these joints are susceptible to strikes as well. The demon locks eyes with Aang, asserting that his efforts are in vain as Aang charges toward it. Swiftly, the demon strikes with its long, sharp claws, piercing Aang's chest. For a moment it appears as though Aang might not survive this formidable thrust. Fortunately, the demon's attack only manages to puncture his shoulder, not delivering a fatal blow. Aang was well prepared for this outcome, anticipating it as his sole opportunity to identify a weakness. With the demon's claws embedded in his shoulder, its joints are now exposed to an assault. Ink promptly targets the shoulder joint, driving his knife into it and wrenching it out with unwavering determination. This forceful maneuver results in Ames severing the demon's arm, causing it to emit a pain cry. A slide ring crosses Ain's face, realizing he now holds the advantage in this battle. He has defeated one thin demons before, and this should pose no significant challenge. However, the demon responds with a sinister chuckle and launches a devastating punch directly through Ain's chest. The impact is so substantial that it forces him to bleed from his mouth and sends him hurtling across the room until he collides with a wall, creating a small crater. Lying on the ground with his chest wound, bleeding and teetering on the brink of unconsciousness, Aang contemplates how even a seasoned fighter knew the demon's vulnerability. It is a wood-type demon with a redwood core. Unbeknownst to Aang, this demon possesses the ability to regenerate. He was only aware of green corn demons having this capability and was ignorant of what it would-type demon entailed. A sense of dread washes over him as he comprehends that perhaps over the centuries, demons have also evolved. The demon gazes at Aang, gesturing for him to approach with a beckoning finger. Roots start protruding from the wall, piercing Ain's body and puncturing through his internal organs, propelling him back into the clutches of the demon. The demon seizes him by the head, and Aang glares defiantly at his captor. Perplexed, the demon grapples with the enigma of what Aang represents, but ultimately decides to let him perish. Aang is now on the precipice of death, overwhelmed by excruciating pain and unable to draw breath. He can scarcely believe that he is on the brink of death after being reincarnated. Thoughts of his comrades flood his mind, and he reflects on how he has failed them, knowing the anguish of losing comrades all too well from his previous life. He offers an apology as he resigns himself to his impending demise. Yet, an inner voice resolutely declares that it cannot accept this outcome. The one-fan demon scrutinizes the situation. The demon examines Aang's lifeless body and ponders the idea of evolution. Curious, it decides to consume Aim. As it's on the brink of descending its formidable jaws upon his face, an unexpected occurrence transpires. Something within Aang awakens a powerful demon's spirit. His body surges with such potent energy that it propels the demon backward. A voice speaks with an aim, asserting that he cannot perish as it withward its plans. The crystal embedded in his suit begins to stir, and the inner voice contemplates how its last vestige of awareness is being utilized in this manner. The one thin demon senses an ominous force, with an aim and a surge of potent energy emanating from him. The demon speculates that it might be a Phyphon, or even a sixth fin demon. Aim begins to levitate. Due to the overwhelming power, the voice within him chuckles at the demon's misconception of his weakness. His body undergoes a transformation, with his limbs turning red and claws emerging where his fingernails were. He takes on the appearance of a powerful red demon with silver hair and formidable horns, a visage that could terrify anyone. Suddenly, a tremendous burst of energy erupts from within Aim, piercing through the ceiling and casting a crimson light throughout the room. The blast's impact reaches the surface, causing visible effects and devastating nearby demons, reducing them to shreds and disintegrating them. The entire vicinity feels the reverberations of this explosion, and at its epicenter stands Aang, his body cloaked in a formidable demonic aura. In this new form, Aang communicates with the one-fin demon, revealing himself as the world's only 8-fin demon, the Crimson Crystal's most formidable entity, the king of all demons. The one thin demon undergoes a nervous breakdown as it comprehends the gravity of this situation. It commands the demon to kneel and it obeys, prompting the one-fin demon to inquire about its name in a voice that reflects both terror and reverence. The demon utters the Crimson Thin King. A chilling yet majestic presence now embodies Ain, the ultimate demon above all demons. Meanwhile, the 3rd Squadron leader continues his search for the missing examinees patrolling the area as a powerful gust of wind sweeps through. The force of the wind was so powerful that it nearly knocked him off balance. He clung to the ground to maintain his footing. Suddenly he spotted a dragon-like demon with green features. He charged toward it, driven by anger. With a forceful blow, he struck the demon, causing his arm to penetrate its body and rupture its internal organs. Another demon attacked him in the midst of this, but he skillfully evaded the assault. Responding with a powerful kick, he shattered the demon's jaw before slamming it into the ground and thrusting his foot through its neck. After dispatching these demons, the squadron leader concluded his patrol of the area. Only 2 one-thin demons remained in the vicinity, and the examinees were nowhere to be found. Worry etched his face as he understood the importance of locating them before nightfall. His thoughts turned to his brother as he gazed up at the sky, fully aware that time was of the essence. Meanwhile, deep within the underground bunker, where the one thin demon had taken the examinees, we witness a scene of absolute dominance in his newfound form, as the Crimson Fin King Aang descends to the ground, standing beside the one-fin demon. The demon, showing utmost deference, kneels with its head and arms lowered, addressing Aang as its king. Aang now, the Crimson King, reflects on the unexpectedly dark sky following his return. He poses a question to the one-fin demon and commands it to respond. He inquires whether the demon lords in the 6 decades since his disappearance have retained their positions without any changes. The one-fin demon confirms this, indicating that the hierarchy of demon lords remains unchanged. Aang comments on the apparent peaceful coexistence among the demon lords, an observation that strangely amuses him, leading to a burst of laughter. He surmises that they may have forgotten the events of 60 years ago, expressing disappointment in the human body he had chosen for his reincarnation, as it proved weaker than anticipated. He feels a sense of disappointment that his remaining consciousness has been utilized in this particular situation. His objective is to fully awaken this human so that he can manifest once again. He harbors frustration over Aang's perceived weakness as it tests his patience. He must now await Aang's gradual awakening and comprehension of the concept of Fin memories. A sense of anger wells up within him, and he considers it a trial of his patience. He is unhappy that Aang appears to be lacking in strength in his view. It's as though Aang is no different from other Fin demons. The critical difference lies in the requirement for Aang to consume demons of a higher level to acquire the Fin memories necessary for his evolution. The Crimson King engages in a discussion with a lesser demon who inquires about the concept of Fin memories. The Crimson King elaborates on how fins are prominently displayed on demon bodies, signifying their strength and level. He mentions the leader of the Dark Clan and their ability to grow new fins, explaining that demonic evolution hinges on the acquisition of Eastern memories. Aang, the human warrior, is likened to other Fin demons. In this regard, the key distinction is that while regular demons evolve by devouring their own kind, Aang must consume higher-level demons to acquire the Fin memories necessary for his ascent. The Crimson King singles out a lesser demon, referring to it as a gift for Aim. The demon pleads for its life, offering its support and assistance, but the Crimson King deems it unworthy. He uses telekinesis to hold the demon in place, gazes into its soul, and declares it unfit. He gestures upward, obliterating the demon, preparing it for consumption. In the eyes of the Crimson King, the demon's sole value lies in aiding Aang's initial awakening, specifically his first Fin memory. Addressing Aim, the Crimson King states that the groundwork has been laid for him. He instructs, saying not to disappoint him in the future when he ascends to higher levels. Finally, he commences the process of awakening within Aim's body, urging him to progress, step by step, toward the eighth and stage. The Crimson King will remain in slumber until Ain fulfills his commitment, at which point he will awaken once more. Aim descends to the ground and kneels, affected by the Crimson Crystal's power. Within his chest, a radiant gleam emerges, signifying the fading presence of the Crimson King. Simultaneously, Ain's human form gradually dissipates until he awakens in his original body. He finds himself on the battlefield, beside one of his comrades, who addresses him as King. The soldier expresses a strong desire not to perish, mentioning someone awaiting his return. Aang extends his hand reassuringly, valuing that his comrade won't meet his end. He pledges to ensure everyone's survival, grasping the soldier's hand as both face their final moments. The soldier's spirit departs his body, revealing a distorted and disfigured visage from a previous life. It questions why Aang alone remains alive when all others have perished. Fortunately, this nightmare turns out to be just a vivid dream. Aang awakens in a bed, his young, slender body once more. He sighs with relief, realizing that it was merely a memory, albeit one that had taken a gruesome form. The sound of Law and Snow's voice beckons him as she draws back the curtain and enters the room. His squad, including Sita Lulon, Snow Makoto, and others, has come to visit. They express their joy at his awakening. Makoto leans in closely, her wide, sparkling eyes peering into his soul as she inquires about the change in his hair. Bewildered by her proximity, he feigns ignorance about her reference to a demon. Concerned for their well-being, Aang asks if all of them are unharmed. They assure him that they are in good health. He proceeds to recount their experience of being taken to the demon's underground cave, concealed behind a curtain. Squadron leader Jay Yao Tang notes Aang's recollection, and as the curtain is pulled away, it becomes evident that not only Jiao Tang, but also Joel and Dada are present. And notice the presence of the other two captains, likely stationed outside the city walls, and wondered why Captain Jay Yao Tang was also there. The second squadron leader, playfully referred to as Jessica Rabbit, joined the conversation, mentioning that her dear Tang Tang was responsible for safely bringing them all back after the chaos. Tang Tang seemed to enjoy the nickname, which Jessica Rabbit playfully teased him about, creating an awkward atmosphere within the squad. The first squadron leader, a charismatic but somewhat tired of life individual, explained how they had been discovered outside a cave, all unconscious and vulnerable on the ground. He expressed relief that the one-fin demon hadn't been near them, as it would have likely led to their demise. Jessica Rabbit chimed in, informing them that the other three members of Aang's team had regained consciousness relatively quickly. Still, Aang remained in a coma and had experienced significant changes in his hair, eyes, and body. Aang, on the other hand, stared at his reflection in the mirror, sensing the mark of the Crimson King on his face. However, he was yet to fully comprehend what had happened to him. He felt like a stranger to himself, unable to recall anything from his time in the cave, except for his intense battle against the demon. At that moment, he contemplated whether he should confess the truth about his reincarnation, knowing that it would likely lead to disbelief and complications if they were to learn of his unique situation. As he had no memory of the event that transpired, Aang had to adopt his new identity to navigate the situation and provide some clarity. Aang concocted an intricate narrative, explaining that he had briefly regained consciousness within a cave, and then lost consciousness again. This was the extent of what he knew. Everything else was a blank, until his awakening in the hospital. Though Tang Tang expressed doubts, he also questioned his own assumptions. Perhaps he had misjudged Aang, and his true nature wasn't as he initially believed. However, there was one unresolved detail that piqued Tang Tang's detective instincts: the blood splatter on the cave wall. Such carnage couldn't have been the work of an ordinary person. It left Tang Tang intrigued and determined to dig deeper into this mystery. The enigmatic emo boy rolled up next to Aang, inquiring about his name, which happened to match that of the legendary warrior Aim. He observed that Ain, despite having a weaker foundation, remained surprisingly composed when facing demons. The boy's intense gaze scrutinized Aang as he probed about any prior demon encounters Aang on. The defensive claimed he had a mere interest in fighting and collected information on various demon types for their weaknesses. Jessica Rabbit recognized him as a theoretical type and urged Tang Tang to mold Aang into a warrior. This mention of cultivating a warrior jogged In's memory about the tests. He sought clarification from his companions about his test results. Makoto informed him that he had performed exceptionally in the warrior test and reassured him that they still formed a team. Snow added that the accident had been considered fate, leading the captain to keep them together as a team. When she did speak up, she questioned why their team seemed to lag behind the others, given their encounter with a formidable demon. Tang Tang interjected, explaining the importance of every team passing to undertake missions and accumulate points. Due to Ain's 3-day coma, their team had amassed 0 points, much to Aang's astonishment. With a sense of urgency, the squad readied themselves, dyeing their gear in battle suits, eager to make up for the lost time and get back to work. After their rest period, the onlookers observed these young warriors fully equipped and ready for their upcoming journey. Their captain addressed them, promising to explain the rules. First, he extended his congratulations to all 4 for unofficially becoming warriors and for surviving the encounter with a one-fin demon. He announced that they had been formed into a team under his leadership, with squadron leader Ji Yao Tang, now their captain, guiding their path. Captain Tang humorously emphasized his role as the leader, likening it to being the captain of their ship or the essential components to their daily routines. He expressed his desire for their team to stand out among the 9 teams under his supervision. The inquisitive ain't questioned what it meant to stand out, wondering why the rules for becoming a warrior seemed more complex now. In his time, one simply became a warrior and was sent to the battlefield to establish their reputation as a demon slayer. Lance, curious if Aang knew about the small team point ranking system, received a blank response from Aim, earning a familiar annoyance from Sitalu, who considered him a clueless newcomer that might drag them down. Tang Tang explained the purpose of this ranking system was to encourage healthy competition among the teams and improve the skills of all the warriors under each captain's command. He clarified that they would compete with the other 8 teams, earning points by completing missions of varying difficulty. Accumulating more points would lead to a higher ranking. The team that claimed first place would receive a reward, while the lowest-ranking teams would be demoted to cleaning duty for a month. Aang reflected on the convenience of this ranking system, which contributed to clean streets. Captain Tank concluded by stating that these rules aim to mold them into proper warriors, emphasizing the need for constant adaptation in response to evolving demons. He appointed Sitalu as the team leader due to her high test scores, a decision met without objections. Makoto and Lance didn't voice any concerns, while Aang grappled with a sense of jealousy. Recalling past events, Aang reminisces about his past when he was considered the mightiest warrior of humanity, secretly wishing he had been chosen as the leader. Siddle steps forward, bows her head, and takes on the responsibility of being the leader, expressing her joy on the inside for being selected as the leader. Tang Tang informs the T-Net. Since it's still afternoon, they should discuss the type of mission they want to undertake. He also suggests they review the points earned by other small teams to better understand their position. Tang Tang reminds them that they need to familiarize themselves with their non-owing battle suits in real combat, urging them to report any issues. As he bids them farewell, and they salute him, wishing them good luck. ILY immediately takes charge and suggests they check the mission board. She emphasizes the urgency of being 3 days behind schedule. However, Makoto intervenes, highlighting a more important task. Sidler becomes flustered and questions her leadership decision, second-guessing herself seconds after taking on the role. In the end, they decide to follow Makoto's priority, which is taking their official team photo. Although annoyed, concedes to the majority. Meanwhile, Ein contemplates the small teams and his current situation. Eventually, he concludes that this might not be so bad after all. They take their first official team photo, creating a splendid portrait. The scene shifts to the three team captains, conversing on a balcony, delving deeper into the cave situation. Tang Tang mentions the signs of an unknown demon's blood scattered inside the cave. As the emo boy lights up a cigarette, he questions whether Tang Tang is implying that one of the four kids could have caused such a significant mess. Tang Tang admits to feeling suspicious about Aim. His instincts were telling him something was off, and he detected a familiar yet unfamiliar scent coming from Ein that heightened his senses. Jessica Rabbit playfully teases Tang Tang, suggesting he might be overanalyzing things while, riding on Tang Tang's back, she remarks on their team's apparent strength and urges him to take care of them so he won't lose to her teens. However, Tang Tang remains serious. The emo boy casually takes another drag from his cigarette and advises Tang Tang to keep an eye on Ein, especially if he finds any concrete evidence. Otherwise, he should put his doubts to rest, considering that he might be overthinking. Ang, on the other hand, his focus on the mission board in the city center examining. Reviews the remaining available missions on the board. Surprisingly, only high-ranked missions remain, each offering 10 points. Lance Snow points out that these missions are the most challenging in terms of difficulty level. Makoto speculates that these are the only missions left because no one else has chosen them due to their high difficulty. While the mission board is being discussed, Sigley remains silent but deep in thought. Lance Snow explains that mid-ranked missions yield 6 points, while low-ranked missions offer 3 points. This makes the high-ranked missions the most appealing, despite their higher risk. Ang acknowledges the danger associated with high-ranked missions and begins discussing their strategy. However, Sigley takes the lead and swiftly retrieves all 3 mission instructions, indicating that they should undertake all of them. The scene shifts to our heroes running through rocky terrain outside the city walls, heading towards their mission objective. Ang activates the Notoing suit abilities in his suit, using the redstone on his chest. His suit begins to glow yellow and shark claws emerge from his back, eventually transforming into wings, boosting his running speed. Ang realizes the advanced capabilities of the nanotechnology, and the suit disassembles and reassembles itself into a dagger in his hand. Sigilly checks if the squad is ready, and they confirm their readiness for the mission. Their targets are 2 non-fin demons, and Sigilly suggests eliminating them simultaneously. She displays the demeanor of a confident leader, instructing the squad to strictly follow the plan and head out. The squad starts running toward their target, gearing up for an intense battle that will showcase their abilities once again. The squad is geared up and ready for a formidable battle as they dash toward their targets with the intensity of Naruto in a filler episode. The demons, sensing the impending ambush, prepare themselves with battle stances and war and anger, their eyes glowing red. Sigley can't help but think about the need for a quick victory since they have 3 more missions to complete. Their plan begins to unfold as Snow takes the lead, utilizing his abilities to block the demon's line of sight. He crashes into the ground, creating a massive rock barrier to confuse the demons, leaving them uncertain about the situation. Hang and Makoto approach from the side, preparing to incapacitate the 2 monsters individually. Timing is crucial for their success, and they execute their plan just as Hang envisioned. Both Aang and Makoto engage with one demon, each targeting their legs and rendering them immobile. The monsters now, with broken knee joints, cry out in pain and attempt to flee, but their efforts are in vain. Land Snow re-enters the fray, leaping up to attack from below. He raises both fists, delivering powerful blows to the demons' chins, shattering their jaws and causing a seismic impact. With a demon suspended in the air, their throats exposed and their bodies immobilized. It's time for Sigilly, the team leader, to strike from above. The battle unfolds in a spectacular fashion, with Sigilly wielding her sword and delivering a barrage of slashing attacks, effortlessly carving into the demons. When Sigilly lands on the ground, she knows her mission is complete and the end has come for the non-fin demons. Her unique ability, the overload treatment, activates, infusing the monster's wounds with green energy, turning them into living bombs. Both demons explode their blood and entrails scattering through the air, while Sigilly stands in the midst of the chaos, her composure unbroken. As the fog in the area dissipates, the surroundings stabilize thanks to Makoto's device, which he used after the battle to restore order. The demons had been dealt with, dispelling the fog and restoring visibility to the area. Lance Snow wiped away his sweat, recognizing that this mission had proven to be far more challenging than the examinations they had faced earlier. Nonetheless, he was relieved that the mission had come to an end. While examining the remains of the non-fin demons, they discovered that one of them had dropped a red core. Makoto proudly picked it up, expressing satisfaction with their achievements in this relatively straightforward battle. Team leader Kitaro surveyed the squad and expressed her gratitude for their hard work, informing them that they had earned 10 points. Meanwhile, Aang remained fascinated by the advanced technology they were utilizing. He observed that completed missions were automatically removed from their display. Makoto explained that current technology mainly focused on demons and that there was a mission chip linked to the city's point leaderboard. The leaderboard updated with their earned points upon mission completion. The mission they had just finished was titled Dispelling the Fog Outside the City. Makoto decided to check the other tasks on their itinerary and noticed that the next 2 missions would be considerably more challenging. One required them to capture 3 non-finned demons alive, while the other demanded the collection of 10 non-fin demon cores. This revelation left Makoto feeling downcast, as they had only obtained 3 cores despite their efforts against non-fin demons all day. The prospect of capturing demons alive, the most difficult mission, added to her concerns. Lance Null humorously acknowledged that it wouldn't be an easy task, but he also recognized that other teams were diligently working to earn points. Sidler then presented a new plan to boost their point tally, expressing determination in her eyes. She declared that they would complete their remaining missions and take on more high-ranking missions, aiming to climb to the top. To boost the group's morale, Makoto began taking photographs of their leader, while Lance Snow was driven by a burning desire to reach the top. However, he wanted to hear the thoughts of his close comrade brother. Ain First Fawn suggested calling him by his name without the need for formalities. Fong acknowledged that other squads were likely working diligently to earn points, making it essential for them to step up their efforts. This moment evoked a peculiar sense of nostalgia in Fong, something he had never expected after living for over half a century across 2 lifetimes. The unyielding determination of these young warriors had reignited his passion and energy, surprising even himself. He smiled at them with joy, expressing the goal of completing a mission before sunset to establish themselves as the top squad under Tang Tang's leadership. With excitement running high, they realized that sunset was approaching, and they still had to complete their mission. Land Snow was seen securing a demon by binding it and using a thick cloth to muzzle it, ensuring control. Another captured demon lay nearby. The squad had successfully captured 3 demons alive, fulfilling their mission requirements. 2 of the demons resembled green dinosaurs, while the third had a red, gorilla-like appearance. She spun the gun in her hand and explained that these weapons were created using nanoparticles designed to tranquilize demons. While considered beginner weapons for the nanoing suit, their creation and usage were considerably more complex. Fong sat down beside the tied-up demons, reflecting on how tranquilizer guns had become potent enough to capture demons. He recalled how in the past they had to resort to beating demons mercilessly with brute force to knock them out, often causing researchers to complain about causing permanent brain damage to the creatures. Snow made this observation, highlighting the advancements in capturing technology. It turned out to be fortunate that they completed the demon capture before exhausting all their tranquilizer bullets. Their mission was now successfully finished as they gathered around a multitude of demon corpses. Snow found it amusing that they had to eliminate an entire group of demons to capture just 3. Makoto was feeling exceptionally drowsy at this point and emphasized the need to return to the city before sunset, citing a rule that breaking it would lead to certain punishment. Nothing could surpass the weight of the law after all. Makoto suggested they head home for dinner before the sunset, triggering an existential crisis in Aang as he questioned whether his current self even had a home. Sigilla added that she had to promptly return to the dojo as she adhered to rules strictly and didn't want to disrupt anything. Now, all they had to do was utilize the location system to transmit coordinates to the researchers, marking the mission as completed. Once the research team retrieved the incapacitated demons, it was at this moment that Aang sensed a hostile presence in the area, but before he could discuss it with his squad, a red laser pierced through, ruthlessly cutting down the demons they had struggled to capture alive throughout the day. Fawn had sent the impending danger, but it was too late as the situation turned dire. Sigilla couldn't believe her eyes. Their day's arduous efforts had been in vain due to a sudden attack. The demons they had painstakingly captured were now lifeless, their faces marred by bullet holes oozing blood. The accurate scent of gunpowder filled the air as they heard the voice of an arrogant and competitive individual who declared that he couldn't allow them to complete the mission. Makoto and Lance now immediately scanned their surroundings, finding their 3 captured demons dead. The intruders observed from their gas masks, one of them resembling Bane from the Dark Knight, expressing irritation that Ain's rookie's squad had claimed all the high-ranking missions from the mission board. The situation took a grim turn as their hard-earned captures were now deceased and a rival squad had targeted them. Ain maintained a composed demeanor in the face of this threat and simply inquired about their identity. It turned out to be the squad that had joined forces with Tang Tang during the previous assessment. The name mentioned was unclear whether it referred to an individual named Black Gun or the entire squad itself. In either scenario, these individuals were more experienced than our heroes belonging to one of the 9 top squads. The red-haired individual inquired of the woman next to him regarding the number of squads that had joined Tang Tang this time, and she informed him that 3 squads had partnered with Tang Tang, which caught him by surprise. These senior squad members were rather egotistical and wished for our heroes to show deference before proceeding with anything. The seniors departed from their positions and approached our heroes. However, upon reaching a certain proximity, they abruptly halted. You see, they desired the rookies to seek their approval before undertaking any of the high-ranking missions, perhaps to secure their positions on the leaderboard. However, when met with silence from our heroes, they assumed that the rookies were not taking them seriously and construed every action as a sign of disrespect. This interpretation seemed somewhat illogical. Sigilly found herself utterly stunned as she gazed upon the demons they had defeated, recalling the immense effort expended in capturing them. Her eyes seemed devoid of emotion, rendering her speechless. One could discern her internal rage as she restrained herself from lashing out in response to the seniors' wasteful actions. The red-haired individual inquired about the team leader and questioned why the leader hadn't LED'd them to greet their seniors yet. However, Sigilly was in no mood to tolerate further ego-driven behavior. She was seething with anger and refused to allow them to continue their derogatory remarks. She lunged at the red-haired individual, attempting a roundhouse kick, but he exhibited swift movements, evading her in a manner reminiscent of the Matrix. His irritation was evident as he reprimanded her for daring to attack her seniors, labeling their entire squad as undisciplined rookies. Our heroic squad leader remained infuriated, and every word from the red-haired individual only fueled her anger further. She prepared to launch another punch, this time with determination, but Lan Snow and Makoto intervened. They used all their strength to restrain her with Snow, attempting to convince her not to act rashly, emphasizing that they were still dealing with seniors. Makoto, consumed by anger, argued with the seniors, denouncing them as unreasonable for killing the demons they had exerted so much effort to capture. The red-haired individual found their characterization of him as unreasonable to be laughable. That's precisely how the competition worked, and Reddit bluntly informed our photographer that she was being naive. Sigley was on the brink of exploding upon hearing this. It was infuriating. She contemplated unleashing her anger in a tirade against them, but chose instead to keep her rage internal, preventing herself from losing control and resorting to physical violence. Lin Snow turned his attention to Ain, noticing that the sun would set soon and encouraging him to engage with their opponents to avoid wasting more time. As Snow tried to restrain the team leader, Aim swiftly sprang from behind him like a shadow, moving at an astonishing speed. He leaped into the air, locking eyes with the red-haired individual and instructing him to leave before delivering a forceful kick to his face. Aim's put connected squarely with the man's face, dislodging his mask and sending him tumbling backward. As he descended towards the ground, his team became visibly concerned. Ain, seated with anger, unaccustomed to witnessing rookies being oppressed to such an extent, he confronted them, inquiring if they comprehended the immense effort invested in capturing those three demons. The team was taken aback, except for Sitilu, who expressed her approval with a satisfied thumbs up. The red-haired individual, nursing his injured face, questioned Aang's audacity in treating his seniors this way. His facial appearance appeared marred, possibly due to a prior fight, a demon encounter, or a congenital condition. He instructed his team Black Gun to prepare for battle. The other three members of Black Gun assumed combat positions ready for his showdown. However, our rookie squad had no intention of backing down, especially Saitalu, who saw an opportunity in this situation. The two teams surged toward each other, both brimming with passion and harboring anger in their hearts, each intending to impart a lesson to the other. Yet the confrontation didn't materialize as expected, because, as you might have guessed, Tang Tang arrived on the scene. He swiftly intervened, intercepting both Aang and Reddit, preventing them from escalating their clash. Both Hain and the red-haired individual were caught off guard, and there was a discernible fury in Tang Tang's eyes. He hadn't anticipated his protégé engaging in a physical altercation. In an instant, he flung both combatants in opposite directions. The red-haired individual was propelled towards our squad, while Aang landed near the opposing team, a tad disappointed by the turn of events. Tang Tang found it difficult to comprehend the modern warrior's standards, leaving him annoyed. An unmistakable aura of rage emanated from him, visible to all. He addressed both squads, criticizing their apparent lack of survival instincts. He pointed out that the sun was about to set, yet they were engaged in internal strife, but hating as if they were offering themselves as prey to the demon horde. The red-haired individual attempted to shift the blame onto our heroes, going so far as to accuse them of knocking off his mask. Sigila regarded him with disdain, labeling his behavior as that of a spoiled brat, complaining to the squadron leader. Fortunately, Makoto intervened, informing the squadron leader that she possessed photographic evidence of Black Gun Squad's responsibility for the demise of the three demons they had captured. This revelation surprised Lance Snow, who was unaware of when she had taken the photo. Tang Tang was bewildered, struggling to believe that a rookie squad had taken on a high-ranking mission. Sigila chimed in explaining that they had indeed completed the mission, but Black Gun Squad had sabotaged their efforts. Tang Tang grasped the situation, but delivered some unfortunate news. He revealed that despite the excessive actions of Black Gun, they had undergone similar experiences during their own rookie days. He emphasized that how they chose to respond to the situation was within their control. He emphasized that how they chose to respond to the situation was within their control. However, he emphasized that in the realm of the points system, as long as a squad did not intentionally harm or endanger another squad's lives, most other actions were permissible. These rules applied universally in every city where warriors were trained. Tang Tang explained that their future challenges would far surpass these basic threats, hinting at the formidable adversaries they would face. He clarified that his primary motive for intervening was to ensure the squad's safe return home, which was why he halted the impending combat. It was a decision that left the onlookers somewhat disappointed, as the prospect of witnessing a showdown between the squads had held a certain appeal before departing. Tang Tang pointedly informed Black Gun Squad that not only had a rookie squad secured a high-ranking mission ahead of him, but they had also successfully completed it. However, their leader had also faced the same fate at their hands. He advised them to reflect on their inadequacies, and the red-haired individual could do nothing but acknowledge their point. Reddit, the spirited member of their squad, started walking away. However, instead of contemplating his actions, he approached AIM. He looked directly into Ain's eyes and inquired about his name with his golden eye glowing confidently revealed his name as an... For a moment it seemed like the red-haired individual had a sudden realization, but he burst into laughter while walking away. He found it rather absurd that this young warrior was named after the greatest warrior in history. As he walked off, he both assured and warned Aang that he wouldn't let Aang's squad earn points too easily. He vowed that by the end of the month, Aang's team would find itself at the bottom of the leaderboard. Picking up his mask from the ground, he glanced back at Aang once more and declared that he would seek revenge, pointing to the scar on his face. He then put on his mask and signaled to his squad that it was time to depart. In an instant, all four of them left the scene. As Aang stood there, Tang Tang provided some insights about Black Gun. He mentioned that while Black Gun might not be the strongest squad, they were renowned for their swift execution. They were determined to distract or obstruct their mission progress by any means necessary and were skilled at holding grudges. Tang Tang continued by informing the rookies that Black Gun's leader excelled in using firearms. He pointed out that the Black Gun leader hadn't even employed a single firearm during the confrontation. If both squads were to engage in an all-out battle, Aang's team had much more to lose than Black Gun. This revelation concerned Sigelu, but she refrained from commenting. With the information shared, it was time for them to return to the city. Sigelu instructed her squad to head home. As she led the way, she asked Aang why he seemed lost in thought, jokingly suggesting that he might be trying to appear cool. Aang couldn't help but notice that Sigelu was finally warming up to him. While the squad was departing, Lan Snow invited Darboy over for dinner. Aang, who knew very little about himself aside from his physical weakness, had mysterious plans. Snow questioned his secrecy, but Aang simply chuckled because he had a rather audacious plan in mind, capturing 3 demons alive all by himself. However, our hero remained undeterred. He had a plan, and he was determined to execute it regardless of the circumstances over loudspeakers. Constant announcements warned against leaving the safety of the city. But an elusive figure moved through the city. Gates, shrouded in darkness, making his way outside, took cover behind a wall, noting the absence of people obstructing his path. The only thing he could hear was the repetitive announcement urging people to stay within the city for their own safety. He contemplated how once the mission was completed, he would explore what his current body considered home. Peering out from his hiding spot, he realized that people were not as vigilant as he had expected. His eyes fell on a yellow signboard with text stating it was for temporary emergencies only. He wondered if the city lacked sufficient manpower for security, or if they simply assumed no one would attempt to leave during the night. All they had done was put up a signboard with no visible security personnel in sight. Looking down, he pondered how different this was from his previous life, where safety had to be ensured day and night, even during nocturnal capture missions. He considered employing the forceful methods from his past to incapacitate demons, knocking them on the head until they were subdued. Given the time of night, he anticipated encountering numerous demons and couldn't help but think himself a genius for choosing an unexpected time to complete the mission, throwing a wrench into the redhead's plans to hinder his teens' point accumulation. However, it appeared he had been caught in the act. The one who apprehended him was none other than the squad leader Sigilu. And may I say, what an unexpected sight internally excited Sigila had concocted a random excuse at the dojo and left early suspecting that Aang might make a move at night. She was taken aback by the appearance of this silver-haired individual who admitted to trying to leave the city in the dead of night. While the MC may have been the most formidable warrior in his previous life, he had never learned the art of deception. Ink confessed that he intended to surprise his team by completing the mission at night to avoid disruptions. However, now the situation was quite different. Being caught was inevitable. Ain't couldn't help but request that Sigila refrain from reporting this to the superiors, stating his intention to return. However, before he could finish his sentence, Sigilu expressed her eagerness to join him. She seemed even more excited about the plan than he was, displaying an unusual level of interest. A smile adorned her face during their conversation, an occurrence rarely witnessed before. She was positively giddy at the thought of the reaction from the masked redhead along with his black gun team in the morning. Found this shift in her demeanor a bit unsettling, as he had never seen her display such gleeful malice. Sigilu, on the other hand, vehemently denied any giggling and maintained a poker face. She was known for her no-nonsense attitude and was not one to display such mirth openly. Nonetheless, unbeknownst to them, atop the highest point of the wall, 2 sentinels were stationed well. They weren't exactly standing, but one of them was yawning, while the other indulged in a meal. The sentinel, experiencing about a sleepiness, found guard duty to be a form of torture, questioning why anyone would venture out at night. Unless they had a death wish, he contemplated putting an end to his night watch and suggested closing the gate entirely. However, the companion, a stickler for rules, cautioned him to be discreet. He explained the reason behind leaving a gap in the large gate, a tragic incident from years past, when a group of refugees sought shelter from pursuing demons. Unfortunately, the gate took too long to open, resulting in the refugees' gruesome demise under the demons' claws. This horrifying event had since influenced the protocol for guard duty, with every city now maintaining an emergency gap in their main gate to prioritize human lives above all else. Sleepyhead, unaware of this history, offered his apologies, and Eater assured him that he would become accustomed to the routine in due time. Luckily for Sleepyhead, the Eater had also brought along a somewhat risque magazine to help his friends stay awake, instantly dispelling any traces of drowsiness from Sleepyhead's mind. The photo book showcasing female warriors from various cities had cost the Eater a significant sum, and he was eager to share it with his drowsy companion. His buddies seemed to be thoroughly enjoying it, and they marveled at the latest edition. Meanwhile, the magazine enthusiast indulged in an inappropriate focus on one of the models. As the 2 individuals were absorbed in the photos, our exceptional team leader and experienced NC made their way from beneath the city gate. Aang sprinted toward the forest at the opposite end, noting the distinct appearance of the assessment venue. Squadron leader Tang Tang have been correct. The fog had indeed thickened during the night. He signaled to Sigila to follow him in the opposite direction, ensuring they had moved far enough away from the city gate to remain undetected. This would be their staging ground for their plan. They instructed Sigelu to stick to the plan. He would entice the monsters to this area, and she would then incapacitate them with sheer force. Alone in the forest outside the city, Sigela felt an indescribable sensation in her mind. The darkness loomed around her, and she pondered whether this was fear or simply an overwhelming sense of excitement. Her task was to be prepared to follow through with her attacks as soon as Aang returned. Soon, Aang began to reappear, bringing the demons with him. His skill in luring the creatures was truly remarkable, and he successfully enticed non-fin demons, each time making it easier to capture them alive. Sigelu had never encountered this method of capturing demons with brute force before, finding it entirely unique and exhilarating. With each demon brought forth, he would signal her to take the lead, and together they would launch their attacks. The two warriors targeted the demons' heads using different approaches. Since the demons were of substantial size, they had to reach their heads by either leaping from tree branches or propelling themselves from the ground. Pang and Lu consistently struck at the demons' heads, causing them to gradually lose consciousness. Employing the old-fashioned method of head bumping had proven useful after a lapse of 50 years. The process went smoothly with them, continuing to bump the demons' heads until they passed out, at which point they would secure them with restraints. This technique demanded a significant amount of their strength and stamina, but they had ultimately succeeded, and wiped the perspiration from his face and reflected on the need to continue training this body. As in his previous life, he could have accomplished this task with ease. Lu informed Aang that they had subdued the third demon and were now finished. She expressed how much more exhausting this was compared to their dojo strength training. When Aang suggested leaving the demons where they were, she became curious about the decision after coming so far. Aang proceeded to explain that non-fin demons lacked intelligence and the ability to rescue their kind. They also wouldn't venture close to the city walls, so leaving them posed no issue. He reassured her that after the repeated blows to their heads, the demons wouldn't regain consciousness for quite some time. They had until early morning to return and complete the mission. Lu's curiosity grew, prompting her to inquire about how Aang possessed such knowledge about the demons. Aang realized he might have divulged too much information and struggled to find the right words. However, their conversation was abruptly interrupted by menacing voices announcing that they had been discovered. Two demonic faces, barely visible amidst the shattered trees in the nocturnal darkness, had located them. These were two one-thin demons who had finally tracked down their prey. One of the demons commented on Aang's set, resembling their own. Lu was terrified, finding it hard to believe they were face-to-face with two of these creatures. Meanwhile, Aang was overwhelmed with panic, knowing that they would stand no chance in a fight against these adversaries if they engaged. Despite being a considerable distance from the city, gate spotlights began illuminating the area, and alarms blared loudly. All three squadron leaders had reached the top of the wall. The breeding young man informed the 2 centuries Sleepyhead and Eater that they had detected signs of one-fin demons. In the vicinity, he instructed them to use spotlights to scan the area, and they had no choice but to comply. Jessica Rabbit pondered why one-thin demons would reappear in this location and questioned if it was the same one from the assessment. However, Tang Tang had seen the cave and knew for certain that the creature was deceased. The spotlights illuminated the trees outside the city, revealing both demons lurking there. Reported to the squadron leaders that they had located their targets, emphasizing that these 2 demons appeared strong and intimidating. With 2 demons to contend with, this would be no easy battle. The breeding young man was perplexed, unable to comprehend why 2 of them had emerged simultaneously unless something had drawn them there. He instructed his subordinates not to panic, advising them to close the city gates so the demons would depart. Additionally, he ordered the readiness of defensive turrets and the city's guns, which immediately glowed, prepared for a fierce battle. However, Tang Tang shouted, not to close the gates, leaving Jessica Rabbit puzzled by his decision. But Tang Tang had spotted someone outside the breeding young man, ordered the spotlights to sweep the area once more as the lights hit the ground. Tang Tang seated with anger, wondering why his inexperienced charges would be outside at this late hour. As the lights hit the ground, Tang Tang seated with anger, wondering why his inexperienced charges would be outside at this late hour. Jessica Rabbit was puzzled by why these newcomers were outside the city at such a late hour. Standing atop the wall, they peered down at the terrifying scene, uncertain of what action to take. They needed to devise a plan quickly, or the two rookies were in grave danger. Tang Tang then noticed 3 snare demons, and the situation became clear. He informed his comrades that the newcomers were likely attempting to complete a mission of capturing Fin demons alive at night to avoid daytime disruptions. The emo boy had witnessed such reckless behavior from rookie warriors before, who often showcased their talent, but ended up in troublesome situations. Tang Tang was furious, determined to reprimand the two once they were safe. However, for now his priority was ensuring their safety. He leapt off the wall, intending to go to their aid. Jessica Rabbit swiftly called out to the emo boy to assume command and announce her intention to join Tang Tang in rescuing the two rookies. She left him in charge of the wall and soared into the air alongside her beloved Tang Tang, both descending rapidly from the wall, hoping to reach the two rookies in time. As the emo boy watched his comrades jump off, he couldn't help but feel disappointed that a rare night of drinking had been abruptly disrupted. The Fin demons soon realized that the city was aware of their presence, and one of them began to communicate with the other. Meanwhile, on the ground, Aang was in a state of panic as he instructed Lu to position herself behind him. He advised her to wait for assistance and emphasized the need to delay, just in case the backup was arriving slowly. Our protagonist was well aware that he was the primary target they were after him. Their behavior made this evident, resembling the actions of the Fin demon from the cave a few days ago. He pondered why this might be the case. Was it due to his rebirth in this new body? Or had something truly significant occurred in the cave that triggered all the demon alarms? Lee, displaying no cowardice, refused to stand idly by and watch her comrade take all the action. She positioned herself beside him and declared that they would either fight together or not at all the one. Thin demons grew overconfident and questioned why the rookies would dare to resist. Without hesitation, the two demons leaped from the trees onto the ground. Strangely, only one of them successfully landed, while the other simply disappeared into thin air. Suddenly, the demon reappeared behind them, trapping the rookies between the two, one Fin demons with no escape. The demon made a slashing motion, declaring their intent to eliminate the seemingly useless one first. For some reason, they underestimated our girl as the demon began its slashing attack on Lu. Its hand nearly passed to her body. Mustered the strength to thrust himself at the demon, colliding with it. The demon's slashing attack was so forceful that when its fists struck the ground, it shattered into pieces. Fortunately, the two rookies survived the assault. Lee managed to position herself at a slight distance from the demon, creating an opportunity for a counterattack. As the demon admired their quick reflexes, she swiftly swung her foot, aiming directly at the demon's head with the intention of smashing its skull. However, her effort proved futile, as she felt tiny droplets of water splashing onto her face. Her foot had become ensnared in a spiderweb of blue strings, causing her kick to miss its mark. The demon's face missed her by a mere inch in an instant. The blue demon materialized behind her, further ensnaring her in its sharp blue threads. She was now completely bound, tangled in ropes and knots, letting out cries of pain as the pull cut into her skin. Aim was filled with rage, unable to believe he had led his teammate into such a perilous situation. If anything happened to her, he would blame himself for the rest of his life. However, before he could react, the demon moved toward him. This clenched, mocking our hero for getting distracted and calling it A rookie mistake. The demon almost grabbed him, but suddenly a fist even mightier than Thor's hammer came dangerously close to striking it in the face. While the blue demon attempted to carry Lu away, Tang Tang and Jessica Rabbit arrived at the scene, assuring Aang that he was finally safe. Jessica Rabbit immediately assessed the demons, noting that one was a blue core demon, indicating it was a water type, while the other was a red core demon, signifying it was an earth type. Jessica Rabbit immediately assessed the demons, noting that one was a blue core demon, indicating it was a water type, while the other was a red core demon, signifying it was an earth type. The blue core demon possessed agility as its primary trait, while the red core demon's strength was its primary attribute. Their priority was to rescue Lu, who remained ensnared in the sharp threads of the blue demon. The red demon still entangled in the blue demon, sharp threads felt fortunate to have blocked the powerful attack, otherwise its head would have exploded. It continued to endure excruciating pain akin to 1,000 migraines. Meanwhile, the emo boy stood atop the wall, shouting loudly in sheer terror, fearing for his comrade's safety. She had been running for a while and she came to a stop when she reached him, panting to catch her breath. She informed him that they had detected an entire horde of lesser demons heading in their direction. He inquired about the number of demons approaching, and she simply replied, "Countless," as a complete demon wave was converging. By the way, the moon had an eerie red glow, suggesting a sinister aura in the universe. The surrounding forest echoed with terrifying roars, growls, and screams as a substantial horde of lesser demons emerged. Their eyes glowed red, with nothing but murderous intent on their minds. This was the largest number of demons seen in this series, and it seemed that the city was in greater jeopardy than ever before. It was not just an ordinary demon horde, it was a literal army. The emo boy was beginning to panic, nervous sweat forming as he pondered his options in this situation. He ordered alarms to be sounded throughout the entire city, as every warrior within the city walls had to prepare for combat without any other choice if they wished to survive until morning. The alarm started blaring, rousing everyone from their deep slumbers. People quickly grasped the gravity of the situation. A demonic wave of demons was approaching, and there was no time to lose. Warriors communicated with one another, urging everyone to assemble at the wall and prepare for combat, as things could turn extremely grim when the demon wave reached the city. Tang Tang realized that these demons were evidently well prepared, while Jessica Rabbit speculated that the lesser demon wave had likely been summoned by the 2-to-1 fin demons they were currently engaged with. They needed to swiftly resolve this situation. Lu's sense of responsibility resurfaced as she instructed the three warriors to return and help defend the city, assuring them that she would be okay. Either way, she felt that her recklessness had potentially compromised the squadron leaders, which held some truth. However, the water-type demon was not having it, and quickly silenced her with its peculiar juices demanding her silence. This angered the three musketeers, and Tang Tang was determined not to allow her to be taken away. As the three heroes charged toward the one-fin demons, it was time for some direct combat. The Earth-type demon forcefully slammed its hands into the ground, emitting a menacing laugh as its hands manipulated the terrain. Sharp spikes began to surface in a straight line, disrupting the hero's ability to attack. Tang Tang urgently shouted to Jessica Rabbit, alerting her to the impending array of spikes heading her way. Fortunately, both squadron leaders skillfully evaded the spikes by leaping out of harm's way. Meanwhile, Aang continued running toward them, managing to pass through the spikes unscathed. He wondered how that had happened, considering his body lacked the agility and strength for such feats. It was at this point that he realized the demon had deliberately refrained from attacking him. The Earth-type demon had positioned itself right next to Aim, and it told him it was time to leave. This unusual interaction felt like the demon was conversing with him as if they were close friends. The demon moved past our hero and forcefully collided with Jessica Rabbit's assets instead. It became glaringly evident that they were not targeting him. Even Squadron Leader Tang Tang began to take notice of this shift, though he barely had time to process it before. The strength-tied demon initiated an aggressive onslaught against him, slashing furiously. Tang Tang struggled to identify where to defend himself. Simultaneously, the water-type demon extended its hand, signaling our hero to approach Lu and retrieve her. She began to be pulled deeper into the forest, and it became apparent that the demon was kidnapping her, utilizing its water abilities to move through the air by propelling itself from the trees. The demon had lured him deeper into the forest, separating him from the rest of the group. Being no fool and possessing more fighting experience than anyone else in the world, recognized this as an obvious trap. Given his current physical limitations, he couldn't recklessly display bravery. As he stood there contemplating his next move, Tang Tang and Jessica Rabbit called out to him. Both urging him not to follow, they cautioned that he wouldn't be able to confront it alone. Yet he couldn't shake off the fear of something happening to her. It filled him with dread. He recalled her gaze, a familiar sight that haunted his nightmares. The faces of the warriors he had failed to protect came back to him. Thus he resolved never to abandon her and began pursuing them deeper into the forest, deep in the forest, where even the sound of a pin dropping couldn't be heard. The water demon had taken Sajalu. It loomed over her as she sat on the ground. Bound by its threads, the demon scrutinized her entire physique, finding her quite intriguing, which was understandable. It mentioned that the one-fin demons were deeply intrigued by human emotions. A little bird had informed it that humans tend to scream when gripped by despair or danger. It seemed the demon, now affectionately nicknamed Pervy, desired to make her beg. That's what we'll call it, Pervy. They wanted her to plead for her life, to hear her pleas. However, Lee wasn't the type to beg. Even if she wanted to, her mouth was covered by that strange, splashy substance. Pervy quickly realized this and decided to remove the splashy barrier that prevented her from screaming. Now it demanded that she scream, but not a single word escaped her lips. She calmly informed Pervy that she wouldn't beg for her life. Appearing meek was not her style. She embodied strength and independence. This left the water demon perplexed, as it couldn't fathom why she wasn't screaming for her life. That's what the legends had specified after all. Lu proceeded to share her story with Pervy, recounting her upbringing in a martial arts family's dojo. However, there was one thing she would never do. Bow her head to an enemy. She presented Pervy with two options: either kill her on the spot or set her free for a fair fight. Kirby, baffled by this, chuckled in confusion and promptly responded by smacking our girl directly in the face. The fact that she wasn't complying with Kirby's desires had angered it. Now lying on the ground, Lu learned from Pervy why she had been brought here. She was merely bait, a means to lure someone else. Once the demons achieved their goal, she would have to die. Lee, seated with anger, but remained powerless. For the moment, her situation was dire, and she found herself in a wretched position. As Pervy drew nearer, attempting to assert its dominance, a loud voice called out from behind. Aang had arrived, brandishing his dagger and displaying a subtle confidence in his body language. He instructed Pervy to release Lu and focus on its true target. Lu's eyes widened as she saw him, and she couldn't help but wonder why he had come alone to rescue her. Pervy was overjoyed at the sight of our hero, finding it unbelievable that its trap had succeeded. The strange dance it performed, and the way it referred to Ain as the target left loop. Pondering, Yar was the target. She hoped to find the answer to that question. At a combat stance, clutching his knife, and asked Lu if she was okay. She was still on the ground, but she assured him that she was fine. She followed up with a question, demanding to know why he had come here alone. She understood that he couldn't match the power of a one-fin demon and yelled at him to leave. Pervy didn't take kindly to that and delivered a kick to her stomach for not keeping quiet. Seeing her hurt Ansham instead, as he was their intended target anyway, he just wanted her to be set free so he wouldn't carry another life on his conscience. Pervy didn't favor that idea much, as it had a deep aversion to humans. It began employing its water powers, using them to glide through the ground like an anaconda until it positioned itself near Aang's face. It informed him that both of them must die for Pervy to find true fulfillment. That was enough talking. Aang swiftly employed his sword in an attempt to execute a sneak attack on the oblivious demon. It managed to evade the attack with ease, displaying its sharp reflexes. In retaliation, Pervy directed an attack at Ain's arm, catching him off guard. Aang realized that his current body couldn't respond swiftly to such an attack. He grunted in pain as Purdy swarmed around him, utilizing its liquid-like transformative form. Pervy's curiosity grew as it detected a demon-like set emanating from Aim. It continued its slashing assault on our hero, who struggled to parry the relentless attacks. Ain couldn't help but wonder at how rapidly the demons had evolved to acquire attributes such as water type and earth type during his absence. The battle raged on, leading Liu as nothing more than a spectator and a target of the demon's cuts. She realized that Aang's body was too feeble. He could only employ physical techniques. If the battle persisted, both Aang and she would meet their demise. Fear for his sake, he overcame her, and she questioned why he had dared to come alone, knowing he was no match for a one-fin. As she crawled on her belly, Lu noticed a sharp, rocky spike protruding from the ground. She knew she couldn't remain passive, couldn't just watch her friend face the perverted demon's brutality. She began to crawl toward the spike, hoping to free herself in the meantime. Ain fought desperately for his life. Pervy launched a punch which Ain successfully blocked. Recognizing an opportunity for a counterattack, he thrusts his sword toward Pervy's face, aware that a successful strike would inflict significant damage. However, Pervy promptly liquefied itself to evade the attack and seized Aang's sword. Before it could cause further harm, it reveled in bullying him. Taking pleasure in humiliating people, it taunted Aim for his perceived weakness, mocking him for defeating a one-fin in the cave, but now being unable to compete. Kirby suspected that Aang might be feigning weakness, but Aang's frustration was mounting with every word the demon spoke. Hank remained unaware and couldn't recall what the demon was referring to. He had no memory of killing the one-fin in the cave. That had been the work of King Crimson, or whatever his name was. Pervy, displeased with his attitude, escalated its humiliation campaign, asserting that Aang needed to be punished. It seized Aang by both his arms and commenced a slow, excruciating process of pulling him apart. It twisted and contorted his body, causing him to experience every inch of agony. His screams echoed through the forest as Pervy the demon reveled in his suffering. It accused him of being a dishonest human, harboring a strong dislike for liars. As a result, it delivered a punishing kick to Aan's stomach with its robust muscular leg. Before he could even hit the ground, it set Aang flying through 3 different trees. This gave him a brief moment of respite, but the demon's insatiable curiosity drove it to seeking secret. Its determination knew no bounds, and it was willing to harm Aim and those he cared about to uncover. Aang lay on the ground, feeling the repercussions of that powerful kick, lamenting how he had fallen from his former glory in his old body. He would have swiftly dispatched this demon. Meanwhile, Lu watched from a distance, attempting to free herself using the sharp rock she had discovered earlier. Her wrists were getting cut in the process, but she knew she had to hurry. Pervy had approached Aang by this point, and its interest in the truth had waned. It now solely desired Ain's demise and intended to devour him. It licked its teeth in anticipation of the delectable meal it was about to save her. They believed that consuming Aim would aid in its evolution. into a more powerful being, it decided to transport him to its secret lair, where it would cook him until he was nice and crispy. However, things weren't going to be as straightforward for Pervy as it initially thought. T sensed a knife at the back of its head. It was Lou who had freed herself and managed to position herself behind the pervert. However, her attempt to kill it with a surprise attack failed, as Purdy skillfully dodged at the last moment. She followed up with a formidable kick to its chest, and it wasn't your ordinary kick. With both feet firmly planted on its chest, she executed a move reminiscent of King from Tekken Drop, kicking the demon with force. Pervy was sent flying, but Lou expertly adjusted her position in mid-air landing, gracefully on her feet. In a way, she resembled a cat with her superhero-like landing, exuding a cool, stylish, and gorgeous aura. Her determination was clear. She was going to protect her teammates and prevent that Purdy jerk from causing harm. Amidst the dissipating smoke, Lou recognized that this would be a challenging fight. Even Iron couldn't help but be impressed by her skills as it lay on the ground, witnessing her coming to his defense. It was a first for him, finding himself in a situation where he needed someone else's help. If they somehow survived this ordeal, they would forever share a unique bond. He wondered how she had managed to break free from her bindings. Evident from the cuts on her wrists and ankles, had a good vantage point to watch the fight unfold. However, there was something else that captured his attention. Lou locked eyes with Pervy, boldly declaring that if anyone from Leo's squad was going to be killed, it would have to be her first, as she was the captain after all. Pervy seemed entirely fine with that arrangement, perhaps even preferring it. In response, Pervy started expelling water from every pore in its body, creating a rain of sharp, watery spikes that moved towards Lou like homing missiles. Pervy taunted her, instructing her not to dodge any of the attacks if she truly wanted to die. The spikes hurtled toward her, leaving her with two choices: either dodge them and leave her teammates to face the onslaught of spiky water, or somehow block each and every one of them. Determined, she opted for the latter, resolutely blocking the attacks. It became a flurry of sparks as the water spikes clashed against her metal weapon. The situation was dire, with things looking far from good. Amid his concern, Aang advised her to dodge the incoming attacks and ensure her own safety. She firmly replied that she wouldn't dodge, emphasizing her commitment to protecting him, and warned that any further words from him would only distract her. However, in her heart, she realized that there were far too many projectiles to have aid. Kirby, in his typical dramatic fashion, warned her to be cautious as the spikes now began targeting her feet. She was swiftly drawn toward Pervy the demon, and it seemed like the conclusion of this battle was imminent. Pervy seized her by the throat, openly mocking her fearlessness in the face of death. It relished going against people's desires and declared that it wouldn't kill Lou, but intended to humiliate her. Instead, now if someone wished to use the safe word, they could, in the entertainment right there. Nonetheless, the fun was far from over, at least for Kirby, as it aimed to extract screams from Lou. With her now rendered practically useless and Lou in its grasp, Kirby understood that he could enact any gruesome fate. He pleased Lou with endurance, slow and agonizing demise, screaming in pain and pleading for death. Once Purdy was through, the demon held her by the throat, hoisting her high into the air. She could meet its gaze and lay on the ground not too far away. But he was powerless in this situation. He lacked the strength to intervene internally. He seated screaming at the demon to release her.